Thank you. I would like to take the opportunity to introduce our Island Trust candidates, North Pender Island Trust candidates, and then we will proceed to their 3-minute opening statements. I would like to introduce Diane Barber, Ken Hancock, our incumbent, Derek Maselink, and Gary Steeves, our other incumbent. In alphabetical order, we would ask that Diane start with her opening statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear properly? Thanks. Hi everyone, I'm Diane Barber and I'm running for trustee. I see a need, as do many others, for a change in the way our local government and the Islands Trust mandate are managed here on Pender Island. I'd like to thank all of you for taking an interest and coming here today. My philosophy is to encourage and value public participation and managing our island affairs. I hope to see even more of you attending public meetings in the future. People have asked me why I decided to run. First, I'm amazed that it's been 20 years since a woman has served on the Pender Island Trust Committee. As you can see, I'm the only woman running today, and I think you'll agree that gender equity is a healthy characteristic in any government. What I bring as a candidate is valuable professional and administrative experience as an organizer, a former realtor, member of the Chamber of Commerce, community volunteer, and I volunteer with the fire department. This background has given me a well-rounded perspective on land use issues, the economy, and the community. And as a longtime resident, mother and grandmother, I can certainly empathize with the concerns and the perspective of residents, visitors, and weekenders who call this island home. The main reason I have chosen to run is that it's clear to me, and to many others, that the sustainability of our community has reached a critical time, and it's time for change. Our trustees must start to consider the needs of everyone, children and youth, young families, retirees, retailers, service providers, the trades, full-time residents, and even our visitors. A healthy living environment means that we must carefully balance and maintain 3 things: our beautiful and fragile natural environment, our economy that provides for those that live and work here, and the community services that make our island a place where we can all experience positive and productive lives. These 3 critical elements are recognized in our official community plan, but our current trustees do not understand the need for this balance, and as a result, our community is in decline. We all agree on the need to protect our environment, and I will continue to champion that cause, But I also want to have a strong economy, sustainable local jobs, and a diverse and vibrant community. So let's restore some balance, and let's start to manage our community from the perspective of a caring government that is responsible to all of us. Like you, my husband Paul and I chose this special place to live because of its unique character. Now our son and other young families are doing the same. So let's join together in restoring our community for these future generations. For a balanced, responsible Islands Trust with the interests of the whole community at heart, I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. The next speaker will be Ken Hancock.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Wow. You can usually hear me without a microphone. My name is Ken Hancock, and on November 15th, I'm asking for your support to serve a 3rd term as Islands Trustee for North Pender Island. Working as a trustee can be very challenging. It's not always easy to balance private interests with community interests and to carry out the Islands Trust mandate to preserve and protect. I believe that my record as a decision maker is a reflection. It's a reflection of an ability to find and maintain a sensible balance between people, place, and preservation. Your support on Election Day will enable me to continue listening, learning, and working hard on your behalf. As a trustee, I take the job very seriously, and I do the necessary research. and I carefully consider the facts, the community's interests, and the environment. The term I spent as a CRD director for the Southern Gulf Islands, and then another year as alternate director, granted me valuable insight into how important it is for local government and regional government to work closely together. I gained new respect for the critical roles that Islanders' values and volunteerism play. And I got to work with Islanders very closely who care about their community and each other. And I bring those values to the job that I would do as your trustee as well. For the past 3 years, in addition to serving as a North Pender trustee, I've served as a vice chair of Islands Trust Council and chaired 4 other local trust committees. When I'm asked for advice about how things are done on North Pender Island, I feel proud to represent a community that has evolved to the point that it's considered a leader on many issues. And I'm proud to stand here today in a room full of people who really care about Pender and care about Pender's future. And in case you were wondering, I've always thought the future on North Pender was bright, or I wouldn't be here. Finally, thank you for coming out today, for taking interest in the work that we do as trustees. And special thanks to Diane Allison, volunteers, and the board of the Pender Post for hosting this important dialogue about your choice for the next 4 years on Pender Island. Thanks.
Derek Masselink is next.
This isn't going to work. Good afternoon. My thanks to the Pender Post for hosting this event. Thank you to all of you for taking the time to meet and hear from us in person. This is important. There should be many more of these kinds of events prior to an election. I'm going to start today with a story that I think is relevant to our situation and to our conversation here. An abbot in a faraway land was contemplating the incremental demise of his monastic order. He visited a rabbi in a nearby hermitage for advice. After a good lunch, the abbot turned to the rabbi and asked, "Do you have any suggestions on how to save my order?" The rabbi turned to him and said, "I am experiencing the same problems as you, and no, I do not have any advice. I can only tell you that I believe that one of you is the Messiah." The abbot, puzzled, returned to his monastery to share the news. The 4 remaining monks began to wonder in hushed tones who it could be. Of course, it must be the abbot, since he has been our leader for so many years. It couldn't be Brother Thomas, because he is so passive. But then again, he always shows up at the right time. How about Father Peter? He's so crotchety, but yet so wise. Could it be me? Surely not. But then again. After a while, the monks began to treat each other and themselves with extraordinary respect and kindness on the off chance that one of them might be the Messiah. Occasionally, people from the nearby village would visit the forest near the monastery to picnic. As people learned of the friendly monks, more and more of them came to visit. Some men actually joined the order to be part of what was going on. Within a few years, thanks to the rabbi's gift, the monastery once again became a thriving order and a beacon of light and love for the whole realm. So why is this relevant? I think the story gets to the root of our challenge as an island community. Like the monks, we are challenged to come together to address difficult issues that are facing the long-term health and well-being of our community. And like the monks, we may not realize that our ability to meet and overcome these challenges will be determined by the strength and character of our relationships, the ability to work together. But like the rabbi, I think we can overcome these differences and our history. We have amazing, talented, and capable people and families living here on Pender. Yes, we have a variety of viewpoints, backgrounds, and abilities. Yes, we face formidable challenges. And yes, we have a challenging form of governance that separates land use from services. But we have the talent, the resources, and the desire to meet these challenges. It is our differences, if truly embraced and appreciated, that could be our greatest strength. Variety or difference is not only the spice of life, it is the birthplace of good decisions. This is why I am standing for the position of local trustee in North Pender Island, because I believe in a brighter future together. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. And last, Gary Steves.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, that's loud. I want to again thank the Pender Post for convening this gathering. The Pender Post tradition of service is very deeply appreciated in our community. You know, I consider myself very lucky to live on Pender Island. This is a very special place, and keeping it that way is rather hard work. Protecting the natural environment, supporting our neighborhoods, maintaining the social and economic vitality of our community are all important issues. But balancing land use needs in relation to those issues is even more difficult. I'm standing for re-election because I think my knowledge and experience can help to balance community needs. Can actually help with some of the challenges that we face in the future. You know, people expect their trustees to be thoughtful, diligent, serious. They don't want their favorite proposition or their idea or their dream for their property to be just dismissed out of hand. They expect people to turn their mind to the issues and make decisions that are in the best interest of the community. And people want more than anything else. People want the island integrity to be maintained. No, the work of the local trust committee is never easy. There's always new challenges. There's always new ideas. They all need to be explored. They need to be examined. They have to be weighed against everything else that's going on in the community. And all of that has to be done within the framework of the Preserve and Protect mandate of the Islands Trust. I'm confident that my experience and some of the knowledge I've acquired over the years in serving this community may help in those future challenges. But above all, I'm confident that public input, community involvement, and fact-based decision-making will stand our community in good stead in the future. I'm proud of my record as a trustee. I'm proud that our community dialogue is civil. I'm proud of putting community interest ahead of narrow individual financial interest. And I'm proud of being available and accessible to you as your trustee. Above all, I'm really proud of our community. I want to thank you. I would be humbled to be re-elected, and I ask for your support on November 15th. Thank you.
Turn to the questions and answers portion. Again, you have 45 seconds to respond to the question. The first question is it, we're setting our timer here. This is kind of like watching a hockey game, but without any hockey going on. Okay, we're ready. The first question is from Ron Henshaw, and he asks, the North Pender LTC voted to request the ALC to allow an industrial rezoning within the ALR. This contradicts the OCP and an Island Trust resolution. What will you do in practice to protect the ALR? Gary, you have the pleasure of trying to answer this question first.
Is that on? Well, the premise of the question is wrong. The North Pender Local Trust Committee passed a motion referring a matter to the Agricultural Land Commission because there was no sense us having a big debate about it if the ALC said no. We did not make a recommendation to the ALC. We sent the entire package of goods. And we're still in the information gathering phase on that, so we have made no other decisions to accept or reject any recommendations or any proposals as of yet.
Thank you. Next is Derek, please.
Standing. I guess this is an issue that's causing some consternation within our community, and I've been asked many times about what my thoughts are with regards to waste management, and I think this is something that we need a wholesome consideration of. It shouldn't undermine our agricultural land, as well as it shouldn't be undermining and affecting and impacting people that we really count on as part of our community.
Thank you. Diane, please.
I believe the Agricultural Land Commission needs to be, the agricultural zoning needs to be left alone. But it is a very important issue with waste management. We need to have a large involvement of the community before we can go anywhere with it. There's a lot of work to be done in the next short period of time.
Thank you. And last, Ken Hancock, please.
Well, I want to thank Gary for his answer, because it puts an important preface on that question. I think the other thing that was left out of the question is that it was an anomaly. It was a piece of agricultural land reserve that was zoned for industrial. So what we're talking about is a different type of industrial use, but that was left out of the question. The other thing is that, as Gary said, it's still in the information gathering phase. I hear people talk about local economy and people showing initiative. And everyone, when they bring forward something to the committee, deserves a fair hearing. And that means waiting until the information is in. So, as a trustee, that's the way I plan to conduct myself, whatever the decision. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from Karen Watson. In what way can a healthy economy serve seniors in our community? First to Diane, please.
Thank you. Our seniors make up a large volume of our island, and I think that there should be many ways in which we can help accommodate them and include the low-income properties, our low-income families to live in. Perhaps we can be looking at legalizing cottages, basement suites, making better use of our footprint that we already have without building more. Thank you.
Ken, next, please.
Well, glad that came up, because we're, as a trust committee this term, we have on our work program age-friendly planning. We'll be the first community in the Islands Trust area to undertake age-friendly planning program. And what it is about examining how seniors are managing in the community. And we won't do that by telling seniors what they need. The program involves direct engagement, inviting seniors in to come down, sit down, have a meaningful discussion. We expect service issues to come up, so part of our project charter includes anyone involved in service provision or issues that are involved in keeping seniors on the island. So I'm excited about that.
Derek?
Can you repeat the question? Yeah.
Sure can. In what way can a healthy economy serve seniors in our community?
So I guess the question is about the economy. And I think a thriving economy that is placed, that makes sense within this environment, within what amounts to almost a park condition, is absolutely vital. A vital community that is young people that can actually attend to the needs of the seniors, that is thriving and vibrant, where we're not living in a place of scarcity, is absolutely fundamental to all of our meeting all of our needs, including seniors. Young families move here to be with aging parents. That's what we're learning as part of the Economic Development Commission. So if we can have an economy that can support younger families so that they can come and take care and be with their aging parents, what kind of a place would this be?
Thank you. Finally, Gary, please.
Well, I don't think this is just an economic question. And if it were, I don't think the Islands Trust would have as big a legal role as we might have. This is a question about economy and seniors. And of course, economics is the legal jurisdiction of the Capital Regional District, and that's why we supported setting up the Economic Development Commission. But seniors they're not a marketplace commodity. They are the wisdom and the elders in our community. These are the people that we need to engage in terms of how we redesign and adjust and change or modify our community so that they are treated as the important people that they really are. And so this age-friendly community project is a very comprehensive, and I invite people to go on the website to look at the charter for its project. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 3 is from Jane Perch. What is your view on temporary use permits as a solution to short-term vacation rentals? Ken Hancock, please.
Well, there are, it's one of the tools that has come up as a potential solution. Granting a temporary use permit involves consultation with the neighbors. And that's the key to this question. And I think we hear a lot about vacation rentals for people that might use one, or might own one, or might sell one, but I don't think we've really engaged in a meaningful way with neighborhoods, neighborhood associations, people that are most directly likely to be affected. So with that proviso, I think temporary use permit might be a tool.
Diane, please.
Thank you. Temporary use permits are intended to address a temporary situation. I think if we're going to deal with short-term vacation rentals, we need to deal with them on a full-time basis in a proper manner with some regulations, some controls, and make everybody happy with them. I think there are certain places that it doesn't work, but there's lots of others that it will work, and I think it would be a big boon to our economy as well as the rest of the people who live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary?
Well, a lot of what I've read circulating in the community on temporary use permits is just untrue. But that may be because the provincial government has changed temporary use permit stuff, and we've changed the OCP. And so basically a temporary use permit is good for 3 years, renewable for another 3 years, and then you can apply again after that. So the provincial government has changed that. So it is a tool that can be used, as Trustee Hancock pointed out. But I think the other big thing about it is this, is that it has been there all the time. Nobody has ever applied to say, I want to change my residential property. I want to turn that into an economic mini rental place. So I don't know why they don't use it, but maybe this campaign will bring people's attention to it, and we will use it.
Derek?
I think people aren't using it because they're afraid to. So what is my view on temporary use permits and short-term vacation rentals? This is an issue that isn't going away. It's been ongoing since the OCP in 2005. There was a study that the Trust did that looked at this as one of the possibilities for addressing this and providing the regulations. Absolutely, there needs to be regulations. There needs to be a discussion and dialogue within our community about how does this work. We're a community of 2,000 people. I don't think we want to undermine what this place is. So perhaps temporary use permit is one of those tools that we could use, but I think we need to carefully consider it. And I'm not really interested in more regulation by local government that you have to pay for.
Thank you. The next question is a creative two-part one. I think that's cheating too, but I'm going to read it as one question. Do you support Kinder Morgan's proposed Trans-Canada pipeline expansion and the increase in tanker traffic in the Salish Sea? And what are your views on the possible role of the Trust in planning for or responding to impacts of a potential spill on our community and local government? That one is from Eleanor Brownlee. Derek, you tackle that one first.
Absolutely not. Absolutely don't support it one iota. I think that you know, it puts us all in jeopardy. It puts this place in jeopardy. When I was a trustee, I brought forward a motion to the Islands Trust about tanker traffic and freighters parking. We had in 2010, I believe, we had a freighter that went aground just outside of where we live, and there was some resistance to that. So what am I going to do about it? Is continue to speak out about it and use the platform of the Islands Trust to speak provincially and perhaps even federally to this issue.
Gary?
Well, I'm opposed as well, and I always have been. I've been proud to be part of a trust council for the last 2 terms and put a lot of work into this. We've partnered with San Juan County. We've made presentations to, we've visited facilities and so on. But increasing tanker traffic is madness. And so I'm opposed to it, and I'll continue to be opposed to it.
Ken?
The opposition to the increased tanker traffic proposed by Kinder Morgan goes back and calls on a history at the Islands Trust Council dating back to 1989, where there's been advocacy about tanker dangers increased with tanker traffic and support for the federal moratorium on federal increased tanker and oil tanker specifically traffic. We've been very actively engaged. Proud to say South Pender trustee Mike Jones attended an oil spill exercise in person, participated. We have met with executive of Kinder Morgan and their front PR people and their strategists at executive committee. We were on this file and we joined many people as opposed.
Thank you. And Diane?
Thank you. I think there's a large opposition to a lot of it. I believe that we need to do our due diligence on any of the research and propositions that have been brought up. But I think the majority of the island would definitely agree with that, and we don't need the oil spills or potential of that around. And I would agree with that.
Thank you. The next question is from Marika Kenwell. And she asks, what is your position on short-term vacation rentals? This is probably a question that's going to come up quite frequently this afternoon. Ken, you're first.
Well, it's a complicated issue. There's no denying it's a complicated issue, or someone would have come up with a simple solution a long time ago. I stated earlier the need to engage with the people most likely to be affected, and that's neighborhoods. I think on the tree of economic development or turning our island around or creating a year-round economy, I don't even know if they're low-hanging fruit. I think they're almost on the ground. So my support is actually having a community discussion about this if the trust committee wants to go there, and we hear from the community that there's support for going there. And that involves everybody involved in visitor accommodation. That involves B&Bs, it involves home business, campgrounds. Everyone should be at the table.
Diane?
Vacation rentals have been a part of Pender Island life for a long time. They've been legal, then they were illegal, and now they're basically up in the air. I think it's a definite way to bring our family, visitors, tourists to the island, increase our economy. I think they should be allowed subject to regulations such as the other accommodations that are on the island are.
Thank you. And Gary?
I support the current bylaws, which allow for a vacation accommodation in the commercial zones and agricultural zones. They do not allow it in the residential zones and rural residential zones. There are a couple of exceptions to that. You can go to my website to see the full explanation. I disagree with the historical analysis, but the reason I support the current bylaws is in spite of that zoning, if you have a good case, you can make an application to the local trust committee for a temporary use permit. And if you're afraid to do that, maybe we need to deal with fear rather than the practicalities of operating a business.
Thank you.
It's my position on short-term vacation rentals. Again, it's an issue that's not going away, and it's becoming more and more complicated to enforce and monitor because of things like Airbnb and other approaches. So I think we need to address it. I agree, we do need to have a conversation about it. I don't think it's a complicated issue other than it's a human issue. And it requires us as a community to come together and figure this out so that we don't undermine the health of our community, that we don't undermine the health of our environment, and we don't impact neighborhoods and neighbors. So how do we do that? I'm really interested in having that conversation, as complicated and difficult as it might be. Thank you.
Thank you. On our island at this time. Gary?
The key issues are applications that are currently in front of the Local Trust Committee. Some of them have been mentioned here today. We actually have two ones that deal with waste management. We've always spent our time on one, but there are actually two. There's a number of other applications that could have an impact on our community. The two major projects, age-friendly communities and the conservation subdivision provisions, which so many people on Pender have been involved with, are both important. And the protection of our marine ecology is right up there. It is critical that we continue on with the education project that we've started and provide waterfront property owners a lot more information to make wise decisions on their properties. Thanks.
Thank you. Ken?
In terms of priorities, well, I'll tell you what keeps me awake at night as a trustee. The more I know and the more I learn is water. And our aquifers are unmapped. A lot of the island survives on surface water, but we often are asked to approve development and request information, and the tools just aren't there. Province isn't supplying that mapping. That's something that worries me. Priorities for the Trust Committee: we have a community that is aging. Average age is increasing with every year. It was 55 6 years ago, it's 60 now. And I think we need to address planning issues that will help be a place where people can stay as long as they wish to stay. Thanks.
Thank you. Derek?
I've got 7 short-term vacation rentals and affordable and seniors housing. I think we need a spectrum of housing opportunities, and we need to carefully consider that. Waste management, I think we need a comprehensive plan and strategy, and I think this is done in partnership with the CRD. Green transportation, looking at alternatives. Our economy, what kind of economy can we have within this trust area? Intergovernmental relations, and the re-engagement of our community, and in particular our youth in local politics and governance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think revitalizing and restoring our declining economy is one of the issues that we need to deal with at this point in time. As Derek mentioned, there are many other issues, but I think the economy is one of them. We need to consider housing for young families and seniors to be able to stay on the island. We need to create some green opportunities and innovative business that will create meaningful employment for a few people. Solving our energy waste management issue is a huge one at this point, and the vacation rental issue. All of the above need to be done within the scope and mandate of the Islands Trust and our CRD and South Pender as well.
This one is a bit fiery, but we're all here for a little fun. This is from Dale Henning, and he asks, why did the trustees exaggerate and misinform people of complaints relating to vacation rentals? Let's try Derek on that first.
I don't know, actually. I would be speculating, and I wouldn't want to do that.
That's fine. I think with the shortness of time, we'll move on.
Point of order on this. It does not refer to all of the candidates.
No, the question has to be answered by everyone, so it can't be specific.
Okay, well, let's do it then.
Well, yeah, you shouldn't have, you right.
Okay, Gary?
I don't know what the question is referring to, because I certainly haven't misled anyone. There has been a lot of argument over the legalities, legal interpretations, but I trust Supreme Court decisions, and that's what we've been guided by, and so I just don't accept it. I don't think I would ever deliberately mislead anybody on anything. The community's too small, you'd get caught.
Diane?
My only concern is that I think we're spending trust money going to Supreme Court to sue people to create or to make a ruling that we should be dealing with on our own. We shouldn't be waiting for Supreme Court decision on something that belongs to us.
In terms of the question itself, I do know the genesis of it. I read it yesterday morning on a mail-out put out by the vacation rental lobby. It's 2 full pages, almost entirely composed of misrepresentation. I haven't gone back to 2005. I haven't done any of that, what the work that's purported to be done. But as far as I'm concerned, when you have someone call you and they're living next door and our enforcement's not working and they're upset, there's a couple on Pender Island who in the summer is going to their place in Victoria to get peace and quiet. So that one complaint's enough for me.
Okay. The next question is from Dale Henning as well, and it is, what is your position on Shaw and TELUS upgrading their cable and networking facilities to improve service on Pender? Diane, please.
I'm not sure I understand the question related to us.
I'm not either. Would it help to reread it, or let's try one more time. What is your position on Shaw and TELUS upgrading their cable and network facilities to improve service on Pender?
Other than I think that it would be great if it could happen, but I have no idea of what they are actually doing with it.
Derek?
We definitely need more bandwidth, and I think that was the director spoke to that in the previous segment. As you know, if it's done I'm sure it's being done in an environmentally sensitive manner, but we definitely need improved bandwidth. That would definitely help us, people like myself who are delivering virtually, to be able to connect better with the outside world.
Thank you. And Ken?
The Islands Trust, we do have a relationship with Shaw Cable, but it's mostly about zoning, and we meet with, I have met with their community representative. Bandwidth, of course, improved service. Who is going to be against that? I am aware that there's new submarine cables being laid because we've dealt with the applications around the environmental impacts of that, and those new submarine cables that will inter-island will provide a more reliable service. The cables that are in place right now for our internet service are at the end of their lifespan, so I'm in favor.
Gary, please.
Well, as a member of the North Pender Local Trust Committee and South Pender, when I was chair of South Pender 2 terms ago, we supported expansion of capacity. The Trust Council has supported expansion of capacity. We've supported the CRD's Economic Development Commission in including capacity, because we see it's one of the things that allows people to work at home. It allows home-based businesses to flourish. It provides some capacity, some economic capacity on Pender. And of course, the Islands Trust doesn't have sole exclusive jurisdiction of that. So we've been very supportive of the proposition. And Shaw has expanded and upgraded some facilities, which we've supported. And we allowed them to do that, upgrading their undersea cable as well.
Thank you. The next question is from Julie Roper, and she asks, what is your understanding of the mandate of the Islands Trust, and how do the issues you consider of key importance fit within this mandate? Ken first, please.
Well, the object of the Islands Trust is to preserve and protect the trust area, its unique amenities and environment for the residents of the trust area and for the people of British Columbia, something that gets lost on people. This area is so special. We are supposed to be, under our duties, is to look out for the people of British Columbia and the provincial interest, given that this is such a special place. It also calls on us to work in cooperation with municipalities, regional districts, improvement districts, and other persons and agencies and organizations along with the British, government of British Columbia. And I think you could take it on the ground and look at the work we do with conservancies. We work with regional districts, improvement districts. When we're doing bylaws, we refer to them. So half is about preserve and protect, and the other half is about relationships.
Thank you. And Ken? Ken? Oh, sorry. Yeah, Gary.
Well, Ken's covered most of it in terms of preserve and protect and relationships, but the sole and exclusive jurisdiction of the 13 local governments that are inside the Islands Trust, that's each local trust committee, sole and exclusive jurisdiction is land use and zoning. And that deals with, it impacts a wide variety of things, but it doesn't capture services. So when the relationship side is when we get to services, the mandate of the Islands Trust is a very important one, and it's one that is hotly debated among academics as to what each word means. But the fact of the matter is, it means you need local trust committees that go out and work with other levels of government and are effective communicators and effective problem solvers.
Thank you. And next is Derek, please.
So what Ken said, but I would also add that I think, for far too long we've been focused on the regulation. We've taken that responsibility really to heart, and understandably so. 40 years ago, this unique institution was developed in response to what people thought we were going to be overrun by development. And I think we've been, the trust has helped prevent that from happening. But I don't think we've attended to the relationships and trust necessary to figure out the other pieces, the social piece and the economic piece. What are those, maintaining those unique amenities, what sets us apart and what makes us special? That's, I think, what we need to be investing in. Thank you.
Diane, please.
Thank you. The mandate of the islands is obviously to protect the unique environment for the residents of BC. But the mandate was developed 40 years ago when Pender was little more than a park, and times have changed, and we must also recognize that the islands are inhabited. We must also have a sustainable economy and community here in order to survive. And I agree with the trust, but it is important that we look at renewing that possibly.
The next question is from James. I believe the last name is Jarvis, but he signs his name like a banker would, or a doctor perhaps. What useful experience can you bring to the job of trustee? Derek first, please.
As most of you know, I'm trained as an ecologist, but also a landscape architect, and have worked in community planning and environmental planning for the past 20 years. I also teach a course, interestingly enough, on governance for sustainability at rural roads, where for the past 3 years we've been really exploring this challenge about how do people come together to work as a community to address issues that they face. I guess the part of it is the work that I'm doing now through Rural Roads has connected me to a community, an international community that's struggling with this issue. And so I bring that kind of perspective and that kind of experience. I've been a trustee before, and yeah, I'd be really interested to do it again. Thanks.
Ken?
Well, I'd say I could reel off my long 9 years of experience as a local trustee, as a regional director for the Southern Gulf Islands, and as a vice chair at Trust Council and local trustee. So I think in the experience, I have it. But I also want to speak to my experience as an islander. I've been coming here since I was a child. I was a weekender here. I do see things from the weekender's perspective. And I came here and operated a business and employed people, not on a full-time basis, but on a part-time basis. So I think I have an islander's perspective, and I think I have insights into islanders that come with just being part of the community here. So I think that part of the experience is important. I won't go on with the rest, thanks.
Diane.
Thanks. I admit that I'm not experienced in local government, but everyone has that first time. And through my job as a realtor, I do have very good knowledge of Pender Island and its issues, and I have considerable business experience involved in the Plumtree Court, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Fire Hall. I do understand the needs of the island, and I will work towards that goal.
Thank you. And Gary?
Well, I've been a trustee for 10 years. I've chaired 5 other islands local trust committees. I served a term on the trust fund board dealing with conservation properties. And I chair the financial planning committee of the Islands Trust. I did 2 terms on the executive committee. So, you know, I mean, most people know that. Before I became a trustee, I was a negotiator. I negotiated primarily in the government sector with, for government employees and government agencies. I've served on the board of a number of government agencies, including the Labour Force Development Board, the Industry Training and Apprenticeship Commission, and a number of other agencies. I think that people can learn to do this job, but I think you have to be clear that there is a legal framework within which you can work and know how to work within that legal framework.
Thank you. The next question is from Marika Kenwell again, and she wants to know how you are going to balance support for business and protection for the quality of life for Pender Island. Gary, you get to go first. Well, I think we're on the right path, and there are a number of questions that have been identified by everybody. But I think you start with this, what makes this place special. We have to protect the ecology of this island. And that's why we're concerned about tanker traffic, and that's why we're concerned about environmentally sensitive. You only need to look at the habitat loss, at the species loss. We live in a special place and we have an obligation to protect that. When we do that, and we are doing it, we need to simultaneously look at what are the job types of employment that families can live off of in that environmental context. And there are lots of them. And they are not the old smokestack industries. They're not mining and logging. They are digital tech. They are 21st century employment, and we've got all kinds of potential for that on North Pender Island. Thank you. Diane, please.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question.
How are you going to balance support for business and protection for the quality of life on Pender Island?
I would like to see more farmland occupied, used, create an economy through the farming and the food sector, and create some business and jobs and just keep it natural, the way it should be, the way it always, with Mother Nature wanted us to do it. And I think between that and making a business out of that, we can possibly work together with that.
Ken, please.
So the question is balancing business with the
protection.
Well, I just referred to the unstressed object and mandate. And I think, promoting a better understanding of what the role of the Islands Trust is. When I was CRD director, I did hear a lot about economic issues and worked on an establishment bylaw for an economic sustainability commission that turned into an economic development commission. But I think, you know, it's about grassroots, it's about communities working together. And I think it's about supporting small business people. And I could, if I had more time, I could tell you about some initiatives that have been brought to us in the form of applications where both the environment and the proponent came out on top.
Great, thank you. Derek?
Great question. I think it's about taking a principled approach, of being very clear about the values that we hold in common. I think it's about engaging the community in that deliberation and that discussion, and especially all walks of our community, people that generally don't participate, like the youth, which are relatively absent from this conversation. And I think also it's about bringing science to bear, about doing things like modeling, figuring out how this system works, and what would happen if we do certain things, so that we have a better understanding about the impact of our decisions.
Thank you. The next question is from Marjorie Behringer. The Timbers recently applied for a temporary use permit to restore its use, and the application was refused partway through the process. How would you approach another application by the Timbers? Diane?
Many people feel that the Timbers was an asset and important to their business. A lot of business was done there, and the applicants were treated unfairly. They were partway through the information requested, and they were turned down by the trust at that point. I would be ensured that the applicant would be fairly treated and respected, and it's an issue that's not going to go away and still needs some community input. It fits with my view of the need to stimulate the economy in Pender Island. It's already built.
Thank you. Derek, please.
First of all, I'd have an open mind. And this is a facility that's here in our community. A part of an application would be to understand what the applicant's wishes are, but also the potential impacts on the community and the neighborhood. So it would be basically following protocols so that issue is dealt with fairly.
Gary?
Well, if the question is about a future application, I would approach it with an open mind and look at all the facts as I do on every application. If the question is about the last application, then I have to tell you that when we had enough information that showed the three main legal obstacles that would put this community in legal liabilities, that's when I decided to vote against continuation of that application. The applicant had months and months and months to provide information. In fairness to them, they provided us with a wealth of information, and they verbally provided us with answers on a whole variety of stuff. So we had 95% of we could have put them through the paces and made them pay more money for the other 5%. But the legal impediments to this community were very serious, and I could not in all conscience say yes to that temporary use application.
Okay.
And I'm sorry I went over, but
that's okay. Ken?
Well, first of all, I want to respond to the notion that their zoning would be restored. It's rural zoning. There's never been a right to run a resort there. There's never been a right to have an oversized dock there. So we wouldn't be talking about restoring anything because it was never there. The advice that any applicant will get from staff, and it's generic advice, and it says, you know, there's a long history here, you better get the support of the neighbors before you come forward, because there's a long history, and you're going to hear from the neighbors. Well, before we even entered into the formal process, believe me, we heard from the neighbors.
Thank you. The next question is from Liz Montague. What is the primary role of a trustee? Gary?
Well, I think the primary role of a trustee is to be a community leader. To be open, accessible, and accountable to the community. The role of a trustee is to represent your community, and there are various levels at which we're required to do that. Local Trust Committee, Trust Council, and so on. We talked about that earlier. But I think the role of a trustee is to be open and accessible. If anyone in this room picks up the phone and phones me, they can tell me what they think, and I will tell you everything I can tell you about what I think about it. So I think that the first rule is to be a leader, to be open, to be accountable, and hopefully to make wise decisions.
Derek.
I would say as a servant. To be a servant that addresses your needs and the needs of the people that come before us. And it's also to be a host, to be able to facilitate and host conversations before they become acrimonious and before they become difficult and hard for us to deal with. And then I guess it's then to be a regulator. And I do see that as lower down the list.
Thank you. Diane, please.
Preserve and protect the environment is obviously one of our very big roles, but the other one is actually listening to the community and hearing what people actually have to say, working with them and working towards something that gives a compromise for everybody.
Ken.
I'll give you the technical answer. It's different than a city councillor, and that's why it's called a trustee. We're unique critters with unique responsibilities. And primarily, we play a quasi-judicial role. And what you call a trust committee is actually a quasi-judicial tribunal. So when people bring applications, or we work through projects, or people in the community ask us to do things that'll move the community forward, our job is to know how to make that happen within the constraints, within the existing provincial regulations that determine how we host conversations, within the constraints that come with being a local government. And explaining that to people is a good part of the job.